with a bunch of women alone like that. He was real persuasive. I sent it to you because, you know.
Well, I kind of think, I don't know.
I know you disagree.
I think people have it all wrong on relationships. The reason I know they have it all wrong, I know for a fact that the country has it wrong is because we don't know.
You have it right.
Because we have, well, I do have it right because we don't maintain our relationships. We have so many divorces, and it's because we put too many constraints on people. I'm not a big. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm not gonna put a lot of restraints on you. I'm just not. You know.
Well, I mean, you haven't read. Just watch it and tell me what you think about it.
I hear people are saying, but here's the thing: a lot of relationship advice is bad because you know what relationship advice is on the internet. Hey, what's going on, everybody? We talk about
counting the
relationships
we're doing
and stuff
right now.
Right. You know what most relationship advice is on the internet. I see that shit. It's on YouTube, Facebook. These videos go viral. It ain't nothing but some handsome nigga talking with his shirt off, saying what women want to hear. Mm-hmm. Some guy with green eyes and a beard and some big muscles talking about yeah. Well, if you want to make a woman happy, you got to do whatever the hell she tells you to do. Like no, I think we don't have. I think that honestly. We just get like because women are so emotionally driven, you know, and so passionate about what they believe in, and men we do care, but we're not as when it comes to relationships, we're not as articulate and able to kind of nail down things as women. But because of that, I feel like there's a lot of men who just don't say anything because they're just trying to get pussy. But the women are like. Well, the reason that this didn't work out is because there's something wrong with him. They're all these relationship gurus on the internet. They're not real relationship gurus, a lot of them, because all they basically do, they're just people who never took a class or any training in relationships, and they're handsome, so all the women look at them. Their audience is 90% female. They're like LL Cool J was in music, right? Where most of your fans wear high heels, and they love you because you're telling them what they want to hear, and you're devoiding them of any accountability for the role women might play in the challenges that relationships face. I am not a believer in that. I mean, when you were talking about, you know, should a man have female friends? You know, I've never felt like a woman shouldn't have male friends. I don't. I think if you're a man and your woman is around a bunch of men, like let's say that you were a sports agent, you know, a female sports agent, and you were around a whole bunch of dudes. First thing I would have to figure out if I was, you know, scoping you out is, are you an undisciplined hoe? If you're an undisciplined hoe, that might be a problem because I don't want to come home and find out that you fucked Steph Curry and LeBron last month, right? So that would not be fun for me, right? But if you're a woman, like there's some women though, where you get a sense of them that they're very picky, selective, or they'll be like, I don't really date athletes, you know, or whatever. So they have a boundary and it's fine, etc. And it's okay. And you have to just trust at that point. Also, I think that if you really want to protect your interest in a person, two things that you do. One, you don't do. One thing I don't believe in is I don't believe in shutting someone down. Like I don't believe in being like, you can't be around that man if I'm not there. And I don't think you believe that either because you don't stop me from doing what I got to do. I don't think that that's the best approach. I think that the better approach is to be your best. To be so amazing and so wonderful and so considerate to that person that even if they were tempted by another person, it would be very difficult for anybody else to replace you because you're handling your shit so well at home. I think the second thing is there should be an importance of a man having a presence in his woman's space. Like you don't, you know, like if you're letting your woman constantly go places by herself all the time on a regular basis because you've never got time to be with her, then I think that you're opening yourself up to a vulnerability that way. You know, so I'm a believer in earning your position as opposed to just claiming your position. You know, I think a lot of people claim their position and they say, well, because I have this status in your life, because I am officially your boyfriend or I am officially your girlfriend, you must follow specific rules. And if you deviate from those rules, then I will punish you, right? I don't think anybody's happy with that because I don't think anybody goes into a relationship wanting to be treated like a child. You know, you get that when you're 12. You know, so, wow, she took one bite. Is that Taylor?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, so we started off talking about, you know, how sisters feel about brothers chasing Becky, but we got into a whole nother conversation. But so how do you think? So let's talk about that. So as a black woman, how do you think women feel when they see black men constantly turning down beautiful black women and opportunities to be with black women so they can chase these old raggedy ass, toothless, 400-pound Beckys? How does that make a black woman feel? Does that make women sad, you think, or do you think that they just don't care, or what are your thoughts?
I think that first of all, I want to comment on your last rant. You just did a rant. I think that if you've never been married, ice cream, and you've never been in a long-term relationship, a really long-term relationship.
What's long term? How many years?
Like where you really stuck it out, like you really made a commitment.
Like what, is 4 years a long term relationship?
I think that if you've never made a commitment to a woman on a long-term basis, and the topic of relationships and marriage come up in a conversation, I think that you should probably not be the first person to speak. I think that when that topic comes up, you should defer to someone who has been in a long-term committed relationship.
Who stuck it out, or somebody who got a divorce? Because a divorcee technically might be, some people would say, well, like, why would I learn from how to keep a job from somebody who couldn't keep the job, right? Like, that's what somebody might say, right? It's a fair critique, right? So what do you think? Do you think it has to be somebody like my parents, 45 years, still going? Would you say that there's a difference in that advice versus somebody who says, I did 20 years and it didn't work out? What do you think?
I think, just like what I said, if you have a track record of being in monogamous short-term relationships, like you go from one person to the next and you're with them for a couple of years and then it's over.
Right, okay.
That when the topic of relationships come up in a conversation, you should do the least amount of talking and the most amount of listening. So when if we ever talk about relationships and your parents are around, I think that they should do the most speaking. Right. And that at that point, the individuals in the room who probably have a lot of opinions about relationships, because they haven't experienced it, I think they should do the least amount of speaking and the most amount of listening.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay, excellent point. All right, so now on to the
That's
other.
my comment.
I hear what you're saying. Okay, so on the other issue about the Becky thing, how do you feel about that? Like, do you think that people overreact when they get upset about all the? Does it seem like there's like a phenomenon that of black men when they become successful, just sort of abandoning black women, or do you think that that's just a figment of our imagination? What do you think?
I think that in general, individuals should be able to love whomever they want to love. Okay. Each its own. Everybody has, in love, so you never know where you'll find love. I want to preference, because what I feel about this conversation. Okay. That everybody you can't control who you're with and, who you fall in love with, so forth. So I just want to begin with that. Okay. It's a very personal decision and it's based on a lot of things. I personally would never date a white man. Okay. Ever. Number one, I don't necessarily find them attractive because I grew up in a neighborhood where all I saw was black people.
Do you think white men or white women are attractive? Tell me what you think. Yes or no?
I haven't yet to find one white man that I find attractive.
Okay. So what do you think about black men? Like, do you think that there's a black man out there that just reject black women in general? And do you think that black women should be pissed off about that? Like, do you think that's an issue, or do you think that that's something people are making up? as an issue.
I'd like to get into the head of a black man who chooses to date a white woman. I'd like to just really get into their head and really follow their thinking.
Okay.
Like, how do you feel going to a grocery store with your white girlfriend? Like, how do you feel bringing her around family functions?
Okay.
You know, it's got to be a very difficult thing for them. We talk about this in my class, and there are some theories on why. For one, sometimes people would think that dating a black man dating a white woman, it can be sort of a status symbol, where they feel, I gotta pack this lunch, where they feel that it's their way. It's their way.
We're waiting.
It's their way of saying, okay, I'm being oppressed or I'm experiencing racism, and this is my way of establishing things. This is my way of combating racism. I'm going to get the prize.
Right, okay.
You know, it could be very subconscious.
All right, got you.
You know, it could be a status symbol.
Okay. Well, I think that there are people who see it as a status symbol. I think that there are people, I've just seen people who just really want to be white. You know, I've seen people that just really feel like white women are the shit. I think that there's certain pockets of society where we notice a lot more interracial dating than other pockets. Like Hollywood, there's so many black men who are sex symbols to black women who are married to white women and or dating white women. And that honestly, that pisses me off a little bit. Not because I don't think a person has a right to date interracially. I know people in my family who do that, but it pisses me off because, well, it confuses me and pisses me off. It confuses me because I'm like, man, you could be sitting next to some beautiful, gorgeous, you know, amazing, thick ass, loving black woman, but you sit next to this white woman, like this lady, you know, like what the fuck? You know, I don't get it. I'm like, what magical shit? Like, are they drugging your drink? Is that what's happening? Like, did they do a Bill Cosby on your ass or Cardi B? Like, did you get drugged? Like, what the fuck? Like, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing? Because I'm not seeing shit.
Well, you know, in
like,
Hollywood, you can't be too black. You can't be seen as too black.
Right, and that goes to the second point. I think that there's a correlation. I think that there's a connection. I've never done a statistical study on it, but I'd be willing to bet you that if they did an analysis and said, do black people who marry white do better in Hollywood? The answer would be yes. Lee Daniels was fucking a white boy. You know, that's how he rolls up.
Well, you're throwing in an element of the LGBT.
Well, what I'm saying though is that interracial relation. That guy that wearing that motherfucking dress. I mean, that old motherfucker that came out in that goddamn evening gown
he
tuxedo.
Was wearing that dress.
Seriously, so this guy wearing this dress, they showed his boyfriend. His boyfriend is white. That's not a coincidence. Tell me if you think that's a coincidence. That ain't no damn coincidence. I'm not saying, you know, that they're bad people or that those white folks that they chose to get with are bad. But here's the thing. I guarantee you, if he broke up with him, he will find another white boy today. You know, you go to the other side. You know, I mean, a lot of these guys, Michael B. Jordan, a lot of them. Like, you just see that it's weird. Or in the black women. When we watch those shows, we watch Billions. And what was the other show that they had the black Madam Secretary?
Those two black women are
both
all
of
married
them.
to
White men. Tamron Hall. White man.
Tamron Hall, seriously?
Yes, pregnant. Why? Yes. So I'm not hating.
Oh
I'm not saying you can't fuck who you want and get pregnant by who you want. But there is a connection. There is a correlation. This ain't random that they happen to be with white people and they're rising up the ladder. Kamala Harris, white man.
Well, wasn't that the first thing I said? It's a sign of symbolism that they made it.
It's a sign that they made it, but it's also a vehicle for them to go
first. It's their way
to
show that racism, people aren't as racist as we think.
Right. But it's a chicken egg phenomenon. It's like my white person next to me is both a status symbol and they are a status vehicle. They make me appear more successful because being with them helps me become more successful. Like I just think Melody Hobson, you know, Steven Spielberg, whatever, rich white man. Now she rises up. I just kind of feel like there's just something about that connect. You know, when I was watching what I saw when Roseanne got took down, when they took Roseanne's show off the air, There was a black lady, and everybody on the grill, they were bragging about how this black woman was the one who took Roseanne off the air because she was a VP at ABC. I said in my head, I said, I bet you if I look her up, I bet she's married to a fucking white man. I'll be damned.
Wait a minute. The lady who's running for mayor of Chicago, the election is today. The Lightfoot or whatever, she's dating a white woman. And I bet you she's going to win.
Goddamn, what the fuck?
We got to follow
the world has gotten so confusing. But so I just kind of feel like people want to act like it don't matter. It does matter. Race matters. I'm not saying that it makes you a bad person. I'm going to tell you the truth. I've known white people who really were cool, wonderful people down for the cause. I've known black people who marry white people who would go out of their way to fight for black causes because they felt some sort of self-consciousness over who they chose to be with. But I think at the same time, I think that there's something to be said about a person making a conscious commitment to connecting to a black person or building a black family. That's almost like making a conscious commitment to living in a black neighborhood. It's like it's like the difference. Hold on, let me break this down. I'm just, and then you can go. It's like if you look at the Nipsey Hussle and Snoop Dogg. Those two are cousins actually. Nipsey Hussle and Snoop are cousins.
They're cousins?
Yes, and they think about this, and it's crazy, right? Both of them are Crips. They live in the same, grew up in the same neighborhood. Both of them skinny as hell. Both of them were good rappers, right? But check it out. Pay attention, babe. Snoop left the hood. Snoop is living with white folks. He's living in, white people hills. Nipsey stayed in the hood. Nipsey said, my success is my people's success. Who I am is going to be deeply connected to how my people are doing. And it cost him his life, but it was a noble gesture. It's still, nonetheless, it was the right move, right? So the question is like, so to me, the difference between two black men who are identical, one who marries a white woman versus one who consciously says, I'm going to seek out a black woman and marry her, is like the difference between Snoop and Nipsey Hussle. Both of them are still black. Both of them still care about the hood. Both of them are still cool. But if you look at people that make literally a head-to-toe contribution to the community, it's typically people who choose to embrace the community on every level, right? As opposed to those who say, I'm not going to be around black people, or I'm not going to marry a black woman, but I'm gonna go out of my way to show that I'm connected to black causes or that I care about black causes, but I really don't want to be in it. I want to support black people the way you support. It's like animal trainers, right? You got some people that love animals but don't really want to be around them. They'll have fundraisers for whales and bears and shit, but they don't want to go near a fucking bear. But then you got people that are like, I'm in the cage with a bear, or I have bears that I train every day. That's a different level of connection, a different level of love. So I think that there's something to be said about interracial dating. Not that makes them bad people, but there's something to say about that. So go ahead. What'd you say, Becky?
Okay, what I want to say is that it all depends on your level of identity development too. Okay. So the first stage, when you're the American culture is basically white culture. The dominant culture in society is based on whiteness, right? So when you're first, this is what we're born into. This is what we're entrenched in. And when are you reading comments?
I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm listening to the comments.
I was gonna say, when there are some people, let's say a black man who will go to college and he's around whiteness,
right? Okay.
And so he's trying to fit in. Okay, so if you have somebody who's in the conformity stage of identity development, where they're really trying to fit in, they're really trying to overcome racism, they're really trying to be the example, the anti-stereotype. When you see someone doing that, let me help you put this away.
Yeah, they're listening.
Okay, so I think when you find somebody who's really trying to conform, those particular individuals will try to be as white as possible when they're in that stage of identity development. They're going to take on the characteristics of the whiteness, and in doing so, they're going to date a white person.
Okay, got it.
You know what I mean? But later on, because we all know, no matter how much you try to conform to, let's say, college culture, which is nothing but whiteness because it's not very diverse. Right. If it's a predominantly white institution, eventually you're gonna say, no matter how hard I try to fit in, I never can really fit in. I'm still experiencing racism. And with that, you may try to reject that white culture. And then at that point, you're like, you know what? I'm not going to date white women anymore. It could be just a phase that you go through. There's some black men in college who just like got away from home, and they got away, and they were very curious, and they dated white women. They were really trying to conform, you know. So it could be also a phase that they go through, and then eventually they're like, you know, no matter how much I try to conform, you know, I never can really fit in, because you're never really gonna fit in. I mean, it really is a mental illness to try to fit in and try to be white.
I had a friend I grew up with, and he really wanted to be white. Even when we were little kids, he did. And you know what he did? He went to college. He joined the white fraternity.
Yeah.
And was getting drunk with the white boys and stuff. And I think he dropped out. I don't know if he finished. I think he did eventually finish.
Okay.
And then he married a white woman. And she had a master's degree in African American studies or Africana studies. And she would tell him, she would critique him and say, you need to get in touch with your blackness. Isn't that funny?
That's interesting. So part of him probably wanted to get in touch with his blackness, which is why he married her.
Yeah, maybe. Good point.
That's probably why he married. I mean, you always marry or you always seek out someone who represents part of yourself that you want to get in touch with.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean,
somebody said I almost gave up on my black women. What do you think? What do you think about men who say I almost gave up on black women?
Well, I'd like to know exactly what they mean by that. You know, I mean, I kind of feel like, you know, let me tell you, like, I think it's such a lie that there's no good black men out there. And for a long time, I believed that myth. And you know what? That myth is really what kept me in a relationship far longer than I needed to be. Because I really believed that I was never ever going to find anybody else. I was never going to find a good black man. And that was one of the reasons why I stayed in that relationship. One of the reasons why I stayed as long as I did. Racism. Racism kept me in a relationship longer than I should have been. Because I was fed the false belief. I was fed the lie that I would never find anybody. There are no good black men, because I'm not dating anybody else but a black person. Right. I'd be alone. I knew that about myself, because I can't explain Motown to you and my childhood. Like, I need somebody. Like, me and you, we grew up listening to the same music, and it's fun. I can't explain that to nobody. It just can't. I can't connect.
It ain't no future in the front.
Ain't no future in your front. I can't do that. You see, a white man would never know what that means.
He'd have to be educated.
I can't do it.
You can't give him 25 years of education.
I cannot do it. It's too much on me.
You can't take his ass back to 1992.
It's too many hurdles. It's too many cultural hurdles.
You had to be there.
White men.
You had to be there.
Even if you find a cool white dude to date, his family is not gonna like you.
That's so true.
You know what I mean? There's too many hurdles. But anyway, like, I was fed the lie that I would not find anybody, and that is such a lie. There are plenty of really good. Why are you looking at? There are plenty of really good black men out there. So I don't believe whoever's saying that. I think there's wonderful black women out there. And I think if you're in a situation where you can't find a good black woman, you need to do some self-work.
Interesting. Well, men have different criteria. When I was young, I wasn't looking for no wife. I was looking for.
You know what? You should speak for yourself, boy.
I was looking for a play wife back when I was in my 20s. I ain't gonna lie. I wasn't looking for forever.
Speak for yourself.
I know it makes me a terrible person.
It does not make you a terrible person, but you should speak for yourself. You can't speak for all men, boys.
Absolutely. Of course I can. All right, so we're about to go and watch Billions. Hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please hit the thumbs up button. And also, don't forget, we're on iTunes. So all this shit we talk all day is on iTunes and everything else. So you guys take care. Have a good day. And I'll see you soon. Be good. Peace.